to order the Solano Community College District Governing Board meeting of this isn't right. Why do they always do this to me? November 15th, not October. Thank you, staff. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yes, I know. October got away from us.
All right. Well, that's the hard part, so let's get on to the roll call.
President Honeychurch,
I'm here.
Trustee Cargo Reed,
Here.
Trustee Cara,
Here.
Trustee Lopez Lara,
Here.
Trustee Thurston,
Here.
Trustee Voice,
Here.
and Trustee Young is not here yet, and the student trustee Srinivasan will join us at 7. We do have quorum.
All right, thank you. The next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. There's some edits to the
There are some edits. I didn't know if they were current since my agenda says it's October 18th. Are these correct?
Staff did a great job of
So,
putting this all together. It's not
Agenda
for us.
item 13B, contract amendment or agreement rather with Envisions has been pulled from the non-consent agenda items. Item 13C, contract amendment with Dynatech Services for IT has been removed from the finance and administration and added to the under information technology. In the subject line for agenda item 13C, the company name should read Dynatech. And the estimated fiscal impact of agenda 13C should read 163,800. So with those corrections, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Comments from members of the public? So at this time, we'll then move into closed session and resume the regular meeting at 7 o'clock.
I'm Andre Williams. I'm the lab tech at Solano Community College for welding in the CTE department. I went to Solano, I got my 2-year degree in mechatronics, and then I got hired here probably about a year after that. I think the program's good. We have a lot of equipment here, different shears, iron workers. We have a plasma table, plasma cutters, saws. We can do all different processes of welding from TIG, stick to MIG. So we have it all here. So we have real good relationships with the unions. So if you come here, finish some classes, get at least a certificate, you should be able to get into the door almost any union. So if you want to get into welding, no matter if it's a career path or something you want to do around home, this is a place we have all the stuff you can do and learn, and we'll teach it all. Solano Community College is the place for you.
If you're interested in the CIS programs or any CTE programs such as robotics or auto tech or welding, get in contact with us. You can send me an email and I will definitely get back to you. If you email me, I will get back to you within 24 hours and set up a time where we can meet and we can discuss the various programs that we have to offer. I know that Solano College has something for every high schooler in Solano County. There's no doubt about it. It's just that we want to have the opportunity to train you and to teach you so you can grow and enhance your ability to get gainful employment, but not only that, to be a continuous learner.
Hi, I'm Ruth Fuller, and I'm a librarian here at Solano Community College, and I want to welcome you to our new Library and Learning Resources building. This library has been built for you. We have many areas for you to study in, from quiet, silent areas to reservable group study rooms, as well as large tables for you to study and work together. We have a textbook reserve collection that holds the textbooks for most, if not all, of your classes. We have computers for you to use. We have laptops that you can check out and take home. We have calculators for you to use with your math courses. We have bones that you can use with your science courses. You can get further information at www.solano.edu/library. This is our virtual library where all of our virtual library services are available, including chat service with our college librarians. Also on this page, you have access to our article databases for scholarly research, as well as our popular magazine service, where you can actually flip through magazines like Sports Illustrated or Time Magazine. We have our ebook collections, we have our film databases, and many, many other resources for you to use for your school needs as well as for fun. Our librarians and staff are here to help you with all of your research needs.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity we have here at Solano to get involved in our advanced manufacturing program is spectacular. I can't emphasize there's nowhere else in California you can work with hands-on this amount of equipment, this different types of equipment, automation equipment, robotics equipment. It is a standout program that we have here that's unlike any others in our region. And it will lead you to a rewarding career. I have all my students, you know, getting jobs without a problem. You usually get to pick which jobs they want. I can't emphasize enough how a program like this can just really yield a great successful career. If you want more information, please contact me. Again, Douglas Green, my email address, douglas.green, just like the color, @solano.edu. Hope to see you here.
I stand.
I stand.
I stand.
I stand against hate.
I will.
I will.
I will.
I will be an advocate for social justice.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate.
I will support diversity, equity, and inclusion.
В борьбе с расизмом и ненавистью я буду бороться всегда, стискивая кулаки и сглатывая слезы.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate, if necessary, I will get into good trouble.
Sa paglaban ng rasismo, hindi ako tatahimik.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate.
In the fight against racism and hate,
I will speak my truth.
I will not be silent.
I will prioritize community.
I will be an advocate.
In the fight against racism and hate.
We commit to doing better, to being bolder, and to contributing to a climate where hate is unacceptable and mindfulness and compassion are the norms. We are Solano College.
I'm ready. So this time we'll reconvene the regular meeting. There was no action taken in closed session. And now it's time for comments from members of the public, and I gather there are none.
None.
So it's now reports. First, the Associated Students. Do they have a report tonight? Remotely or otherwise?
Sri, is there a student report?
They didn't mention one at the ASSC, so I do not believe so.
Okay. Next is Academic Senate.
Josh Scott is not available this evening, and so there's no report from the Senate.
College Governance Council, and the superintendent's report, we're going to combine into one report.
Get the full hour. At our recent meeting, VP John Cornelison provided a Banner SAS update on the web portal and discussed the mission and goals for what IT is calling Project Falcon Nest. VP Susan Wheat provided the first quarter budget update and shared that we are in good fiscal health, and you'll hear about that this evening. VP Lisa Neely and Dean Nathan Rexford presented data on Student Basic Needs Insecurity Survey conducted by the RP Research and Planning Group of California Community Colleges. The survey focused on housing and food insecurities. The college will explore the results and identify ways to address student basic needs beyond what we are currently providing. VP David Williams provided an accreditation update and asked members to review the ICER and provide any feedback before the due date. And Dr. Pam Walker from PPL shared with the College Governance Council that they will start the SP job announcement process by surveying the campus community regarding desirable characteristics, what are important issues, etc. On Monday, a college-wide Zoom session was held to explain the survey and opportunities the college community will have to give input. They met with ASSC, I believe, today via Zoom to collect student interest. And for the SP report, on Monday, Jason Yee and staff from Kitchell accepted this lovely California Community College Board of Governors 2023 Energy and Sustainability Award for Innovative Project Best Overall Small District Award for the cumulative impact on reducing energy usage costs and environmental impact by replacing infrastructure projects funded by Measure Q. And those projects include installation of new 1.5 megawatt solar power generation facilities, installation of battery energy storage systems, replacement of central plant chillers and boilers with high efficiency, replacing them with high efficiency equipment, and replacement of the 50-year-old 12 kV substations and increasing electrical capacity to provide for the new electric heating systems. These combined projects will reduce our PG&E power usage, resulting in what we expect to be approximately $700,000 per year in savings. And so I want to thank VP Lucky Lofton for putting all these facts together and also for submitting the proposal for this award. And so they were recognized on Monday. And today we held our Career and Trades Expo. This is part of the Partnership Labor Agreement, the PLA, with our trades. We provide students with information on bond-funded projects and shared many opportunities available through our career technical ed programs and the trades. We had approximately, 300 students from surrounding high schools who came to check out all of the programs that we had available, including our nursing and EMT programs. It was quite impressive. We had robotics there in the makerspace, and students were quite excited actually about learning all of the things that are possible in the trades. We had some students who were interested in interior design, and we took them over to the Kitchell table, and we said, here's where you can do interior design work. So they really got a chance to hear about careers that they probably have not heard about in the past. So I want to thank VP Lisa Neely, Dean Jose Cortez, and Admin Tiffany Casimir, as well as Priscilla Meckley and our Kitchell staff for pulling this together in very short order so that we could celebrate that during National Apprenticeship Week. And because we're not busy enough, tomorrow is our day of giving. We are asking students and faculty and staff to bring warm clothing and food donations to the faculty staff lounge. And we are going to be essentially upscaling our food pantry that will include now a clothing closet. So it's just tomorrow from 8 to 5 in the faculty staff lounge. And that's enough of my report.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Sure.
Did you have many students come into the apprentice program from Vallejo?
Oh, yes, primarily Vallejo.
Very good,
Elite,
okay.
Griffith, Bethel, Vallejo High, Finney.
In reference to the food pantry, are you taking financial donations that we
Oh,
can give?
absolutely. I think
Can we
VP
give
Lisa Neely.
donations to you tonight to give to them?
Me or to VP Neely. We're happy to take
Okay,
this.
I'll see you.
Thank you.
Before I leave. Financial donation, okay.
For food, is that what she said? I'm sorry, I didn't hear what she said.
She wanted to know if she could make a financial contribution.
For the food pantry,
for food.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your report. Next item is item 11, consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered by the board to be routine and will be enacted by the board in one motion. There's no discussion on these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed. Time will be provided before the vote for clarification questions without removing an item from the consent agenda. Are there any such questions? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Item 13 is non-consent agenda items. Finance and Administration. This is presented by Vice President Susan Wheat, and it's a contract with RFI for Access Control Management System.
Yes, thank you, President Honeychurch, board members. We are asking that the board approve this contract with RFI Communication and Security Systems. This is basically our locks that use the fobs. Our current system is very outdated and it's sitting on an old computer that is also outdated and can't be serviced any longer. So we're looking to upgrade that to the new system so that we can continue using our fobs and having that security portal that we have. So we're asking that you approve this.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the contract with RFI?
I'll make a motion to approve the item 13A.
I'll second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now it's item C, correct? It's a contract agreement with Dyntech Services for IT consulting services presented by Vice President John Corneliuson.
Thank you, President Honeychurch, members of the board. We're asking for approval of this contract with Dyntech to provide overall project management services for our Banner SaaS project, which the board learned during the last meeting. The Banner SaaS is a whole portfolio of projects, not just one. And so we're looking to hire a project manager to formally manage this project so we can get it done.
Any questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the item? Contract amendment with Dyntech Services. Go ahead.
We approve.
You have the floor.
Thank you. I move that we approve this
So
article.
it's been moved to approve the contract agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Dyntech Services. Any questions, comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item D, which is a contract amendment number 3 with ADIS Architects for additional professional services for the swimming pool deck replacement project. Lucky Lofton is the presenter if he's available.
President Honeychurch, members of the board, we've run into a number of below grade problems with the deck as we removed it, and we are seeking board's approval to amend the contract to deal with the unforeseen challenges that we uncovered as we removed the deck.
All right. So do you have a new bionic arm? What is that?
I know, that's what I was going to say too.
no, I had a tendon reattached, so it's just a brace, and it'll be that way for a few weeks.
All right, well, we wish you a fast recovery. So, are there any questions of Mr. Lofton?
I would like to make the motion to approval. Okay.
Sure. There's a motion. Can we get a second?
I move that we approve item 13D.
All right, is there a second?
I second the motion.
All right, now there's a question.
Hi, unforeseen problems underneath the deck. I remember before we were talking about that you had expected problems when we removed the deck. Is this more unforeseen stuff or what you already foresaw?
So this is to deal with the architect's contracts. We've previously dealt with other contracts for this project. We have multiple projects for the design team, for the contractor. So we dealt with those change orders. This is just an amendment to deal with the time and cost impact for the design team.
Okay, so it isn't that they've discovered, I don't know, a nuclear bunker or something. Okay.
To re-pour the deck now.
Okay, thank you.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract amendment number 3. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Next is contract award to ADIS Architects for the Fairfield Campus Swing Space Project. So this is also your matter?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We ran into a delay when we were bidding Building 300 last year, and that project was delayed in terms of bidding and actually getting that project done. Now Building 300 is overlapping with Building 1600. We are constrained by time because our bond funds need to be spent within 3 years. And so with both buildings under remodel, we will have to deal with a larger population of students. So we're going to need swing space to deal with those students. So we have 2 buildings worth of classrooms that will be out of commission for a period of time. We're projecting 6 and 9 months for the 2 different projects. So there'll be a little bit of overlap with those projects, but right now we're projecting that we should need 7 portable buildings to provide classrooms. We're still working with Dr. Williams to ensure that 7 will be sufficient. It is possible that we may need several more portable buildings as we work through this process. It's a very time-sensitive process. Getting this project underway, getting it in design, getting it to DSA, so that we can move forward with the project to establish infrastructure for these portables. We will be placing these portables where the old portables were. You'll recall the old brown portables, and there were a couple of classroom portables that we had over there before. We'll be using that entire site for these portables. It's an unfortunate situation that we ran into, the delays that we ran into last year that have created this situation. We're seeking the board's approval to create the classroom space that we need in order to remodel buildings 300 and 1600 simultaneously.
All right. Is there a motion to approve this contract award for the campus swing space project?
I'll make a motion to approve 13E.
For a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, thank you. Any further questions, discussion?
I do one.
Sure, go ahead.
I just wanted to firstly reaffirm that these are lease, not permanent
you know, sometimes we talk about temporary buildings becoming, you know, temporary buildings that are then 40 years later still temporary buildings somehow. Right? But these are lease. Is there a rough with timeline? Are we able to timeline about the length of time? I know it's for the duration of the construction, but like, is there a rough estimate of portable campus?
Yes, excellent question. We are currently projecting an 18-month lease for these buildings. And that includes installation and removal in the cost of the contract that we're currently looking at with the Scott company.
Any other, go ahead.
And we have those already, the portable buildings, because at one point it was difficult to actually rent them or lease them.
That is true, and that is part of the time urgency for this contract. Getting this moving forward, this is just for design with the architect. Once we begin that design process and we work through that process with Dr. Esposito-Noy and Dr. Williams, in terms of really refining how many classrooms we will need, we will bring back to the board a contract to approve the lease of those buildings. There is a lead time associated with ordering those buildings. So time won't be our friend, but we believe that if we're moving now, we should be able to get those buildings under contract through the design process and ready to go by the time our project begins. But it is a very tight schedule.
Thank you.
Other questions? If not, there is a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for the swing space project. Next item is a contract award to Conti LLC for construction services on the campus gym sound system. Mr. Lofton, you're presenting this one as well, this item?
Yes, sir. We are seeking the board's approval to let this contract to improve the AV in the gym. So this will include sound and video and some, it will bring the gym up to the performance expectations that we have for that facility.
Thanks. Is there a motion to approve this item, which is the gym sound system?
3F.
What's that?
3F.
Yes. Is there a motion to?
I move approval of item F. 13, I'm sorry.
13F.
I was on your 13F.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed? Motion carries. Next item is presented by Vice President David Williams. It's approval of revisions to Board Policy 1003, District Mission Statement.
Thank you, President Honeychurch, members of the board. We're presenting to you for the second reading revised mission statement. I would like to take this opportunity to make a friendly edit here, and this is entirely my fault. We added the word district to the opening line of the mission statement, but I forgot to take the possessive out of college. So if we could rewrite that to say Solano Community College District's mission. And again, that's my oversight. It was a quick edit. Other than that, we're submitting this to you for your approval.
All right, with that correction, is there a motion to approve the revisions to Board Policy 1003?
I'll make a motion to approve item 13G with the suggested amendment.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Oh, go ahead.
Just point clarification. I was wondering about the use of Solano College in the second sentence or third sentence, rather. Do we, instead of Solano Community College?
That was merely a choice for brevity. We do often go back and forth between the two, but you know, we're open to editing that if you feel that's necessary.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted thanks. I just wanted to also reaffirm that I appreciate we talked about last time crafting a equity statement about like how do we do this, and I wasn't in total disagreement with Trustee Carr about like the importance of that of thinking of it. And I looked at some other colleges, and a lot of them do separate the compliance mission statement and the equity statement, but they place them with equal importance. So I hope that we can still pursue that and look at that. It's overdue that we don't have that. That's great. Thank you very much.
I agree. Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions?
I appreciate that there's an emphasis that Solano Community College transforms students' lives. All the students that come here have been from what I've been hearing, very happy. So thank you for being able to do this mission statement under such a very busy time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Next is item H, which is a Grand Canyon University and Solano Community College Scholarship Program. This is your item as well?
It is. Thank you, President Honey. Church members of the board, this is a renewal scholarship agreement that we have with Grand Canyon University and our nursing program. This provides our graduates with reduced tuition should they choose to pursue further education at Grand Canyon University.
So the chair, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move that we approve item 13H.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments further? Not, please say aye if you approve.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is item I, which is clinical experience agreement renewal for CNA HHA program with the University Retirement Community at Davis Incorporated. So
Thank you.
please
Yeah, this
introduce
is
item.
another renewal of a clinical agreement we have for an opportunity for our certified nursing assistant and home health aide program to get clinical experience in gerontology.
Is there a motion to approve it from the board?
I move that we approve item 13I.
Or a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. It's moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Go ahead.
Dean Williams, could you tell me a little bit about the certified nursing assistant and whether it's a gateway into the nursing program or if it's very clear, different?
It is its own program. It's essentially at this point one course that students can take to be a certified nursing assistant. Many of our students who have applied to the nursing program and are waiting to get in will pursue this certification while they're awaiting entrance into the nursing program.
Is it as impacted as our nursing?
This one is not as impacted. No, we and there's no limitations on this one, so we can offer as many sections as we need to meet the interest.
Okay, thank you.
Right, so has there been a motion? Yes, all right. So there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to Student Services. This is presented by Vice President Lisa Neely. It's a contract renewal for Child Development Services, California State Preschool Program. Would you be kind enough to introduce this item?
You turn on your mic, please.
There it goes. There it goes.
Is that better? Oh, there we go. Okay. Forgive me. Thank you, President Honey Church and members of the board. So this is a renewal of a contract, and this is to be considered for continued funding for the 24-25 fiscal year for our California State preschool contract. It basically allows us and enables us to confirm each year that we are agreeing to the terms, but this is a renewal of an ongoing contract that we ask the board to consider for approval. Approval, please.
All right, is there a motion to approve the item? Anyone?
I'll make that motion to approve item 13J.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks. It's been Moved and seconded to approve the contract renewal for child development services. Any questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item K, which is a contract between Solano Community College District and Solano County of Education. So you're the Vice President Neely. Go ahead.
Thank you again. So this is a contract between the college and County Office of Education, which essentially provides in their teaching pyramid module for 2 of our staff to be eligible for extra what's considered extra duty compensation. There's 2 Saturdays involved in this really valuable training program for our staff, and so this is an agreement between the 2 organizations to support that extra compensation. We ask the board for approval, please.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the item?
I'll make the motion to approve 13K.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from the board? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Vice President Neely. So the next item is information items, no action required. And it's the 23-24 budget update presented by Vice President Susan Wheat.
Yes, thank you very much. We're putting this on the board. That is way too small for any of us to see, though. So let me make that bigger. This should be in front of you as well, that you can follow along if you don't want to look at the screen. This is our first quarter budget update. So as of September 30th of this year, I promised you when I did the adopted budget that I'd bring back information on our SDFF, the student-centered funding formula. So the good portion of this is based on what that entails, so that we can go through that. So just as a reminder, our student-centered funding formula is based on ultimately 3 things. It's really 4, but we'll call it 3. That's what the chancellor's office calls it, 3. The base pay, which is actually basic and FTES. Then we have supplemental, and we have the success rate. So the base pay is relies on just our college size and how many centers that we have. And then the FTES is based on the number of full-time equivalent students that we have. When they make the calculations for that FTES, it is based on our actual enrollment, but we get money before they know what our actual enrollment is throughout the year. So they will take it like a 3-year average to kind of give us that allocation in the beginning, and then they do a recalculation at the end. We'll kind of see how that portrays when we look at the unrestricted funds a little bit later, how that looks for this year. So kind of keep that in mind where while it's based on actual FTES, it is based on an average until they can do that recalculation at the end of the year. The supplemental allocation is based on the prior year head count. So for this year, it's based on last year's head count of our AB 540, our California Promise Grant, and our Pell Grant recipient. And then that success allocation is an average of 3 years. So they do a little bit different for each one of these allocations. But it's an average of 3 years for a lot of our programs, like our associate's degrees for transfers, our plain associate's degrees, our bachelor degrees, our certificate programs, things of that. And then we go down. I wanted to see how this actually relates to Solano Community College. So you'll see how these numbers, again, relate to the revenue that we're showing it in the unrestricted fund a little bit later. But the basic allocation is based just on our size and the number of centers. So because we have the count at the time is 7,000, a little over 7,000 FTES, we're considered a small college. Thus the reason for the small college award that was presented early. And so we get about 6.4 million just on that. And then we also get funding for our 2 centers. So our basic allocation is about $10 million for just that. And then we have our FTES allocation, again based on a 3-year average and then recalculated at the end of the year. Those rates are different depending on how we are looking at our FTES. It's based on our credit, our incarcerated credit, and then special admit credit. So you can see how that breaks down, what the FTES is for Solano Community College and what the rate that goes along with that. One of the things to keep in mind, we really have grown our Rising Scholars program, our incarcerated program, for those people that need that college degree that can't come onto our campus for those reasons. You can see we get a higher allocation for that. That helps pay for our staff to be able to go out and provide those services to them. So our basic allocation with our FTES right now is about $46.5 million. And then we go to our supplemental allocation. The allocations, this is the total amount we get, about $9 million. How it's broken down between the AB 540, the Pell Grants, and that College Promise Grant. And then I also provided the counts that go along with that. So we had about 265 FTES in the AB 540, about 2,200 receiving the supplemental Pell Grant, and about almost 4,900 receiving that Promise Grant. And we get that supplemental rate of about $1,200 for each of those students. And then going down, the success allocation, there's a lot more that goes into the count and the rate. So you'll see a couple pages. I'm not going to go through every single rate on these because there's a whole page of just rates. But I wanted to give you kind of what our allocation is. We get about $6.6 million this year for our success allocation. And it's broken down between all students and then Pell students and then those promised students. So they kind of do different rates for each one of those and give us funds for all of them. So just in this first page, our success funding for all students. I did break it down for each of those subgroups, but for all students, you can see what the total allocation is and then what our counts were for 23-24, what we're getting that allocation for. Again, remember, this is an average of 3 years. So it's not necessarily the count that we had last year, but the average of 3 years. So the next page goes into the counts and total allocation for the Pell Grant and the Promise Grant. And then page 7 gives you those rates. So it's a lot of going back and forth, but that kind of can let you see how we get our funding for that student-centered funding formula. I did create a summary for our unrestricted for you to review, but we'll look at this. This is the important part, the numbers. So our unrestricted fund, again, those revenues, you'll see that these numbers in the current allocation as of September 30th match what's on those previous pages. This is how we come to that. It's a little bit less than what I had in the adopted budget. I wanted you to see how that's gotten from the current allocation. Again, those FTES funds will be recalculated as it moves forward, as we have the actual count in period 1, period 2, and then the annual. But I wanted to show how it's looking right now based on those averages. So it is a little bit less than the adopted budget. But I wanted to point out, if you look right here, I pulled that out so you could see what happens. This is that recalculation of last year's FTES in formula and funding. We got an additional $5.8 million once they did that recalculation of what our FTES was in actuality. And then they also have, if they have any additional funding that they're able to, hand out, that is a part of this recalculation. So we are getting about $5.8 million based on that reallocation of last year. You'll still see right here, there's still a 0 for that EPA funding from last year as well, anticipating to come in next month, but I'm not going to put it in here until we actually have that cash in hand because I just don't have it. So when that comes in, we'll see that as well. So overall, all our revenues are up by just under $3 million. And what that means is that at the end, when we look at the bottom, we had estimated having a deficit spend, a planned deficit spend of about $1.9 million. We are now in the positive about $1 million. There were some increases in our expenditures to be expected as we're bringing more and more students back on campus. We're having more and more expenses. When we look at this, our faculty and our staff are amazing at not just spending money to spend money. I have no problem telling you we will not spend $68 million in expenses this year, but we're budgeted for it, we're planned for it in case it's needed. But again, our staff and our faculty are excellent about not just spending it because it's there, but actually being thoughtful about it. So again, our net fund balance increase is about $1 million, which is more than, is about $3 million more than we anticipated when we did the adopted budget, which puts us to the ending fund balance of about $29 million. It's not, it's about $1 million more. Our ending, our stability reserve and our board required 5% is about the same because what we are being very thoughtful about that surplus that we have. And I'm kind of calling that out in the ending fund balance. We have, as we've done in the past, we try to do that year-end bucket allocation to give back to our employees for being thoughtful about their spending. So 80% of that surplus goes back into that year-end bucket. So we have that potential here, which is this $859,000. And then I took that other 20% in trying to be thoughtful of what we're doing with our funds and putting it into a potential technology and non-capital expense reserve. So when we have to do technology refreshes, and when something happens and the boiler goes out and maybe we don't have bond funds or we don't have preventative maintenance funds that can be used for that, we have this reserve that we can fall back on. We've tried to put it in before, not always successful as we have other things come up. So we're trying it again. As we increase our surplus, if we get that EPA money in December and that increases it, these numbers here will change as far as that capital, non-capital expense reserve and the potential for those year-end buckets. Everything else is about the same as from our adopted budget in that ending fund balance. And we go into our restricted funds. I split it out so it's a little bit easier to read than what was on our adopted budget. This is just for our federal, not too much different between adopted budget to actual at the end of September 30th. Slight changes based on actual numbers coming in and what our allocations will be. Same goes for state funding, and because we have a lot of different state categorical and grants, this is smaller, so I apologize. I can't do it any other way other than to make it like this without giving you the detail that I want to provide to you. So not a huge amount of difference between our adopted budget and end of the first quarter. But it is all broken out there for you to review. And then our local funds here, this is what we call Fund 14. These are outside of state revenues and outside of federal revenues. This is kind of locals where we get money. Like for example, our parking fees when we charge for our parking services, that would go into this local fund. So not too much different here, a little bit based on actual carryover that we had for last year, kind of changes those numbers as we move forward. And then I just gave you kind of a summary of the other funds and where we're looking. Sometimes, especially in some of these like capital outlay funds and our Measure Q funds and things like that, very hard to estimate what that ending fund balance is when we do the adopted budget in August, September. So these kind of like true up what that was for the end of last year and where we're at for this year. And then the last page is just, this is the report that we have to send to the Chancellor's office for the first quarter, just so that you can see how that relates to what I'm presenting. And I will stop sharing. That is my report. Any questions?
All right, thanks. Thanks for your thorough report. Questions? Go ahead. Trustee Cara.
Student-centered funding formula.
Yes.
We're beyond the hold harmless, right?
Yes.
That's no longer
an
option. when the Chancellor's Department first decided this, it was a worry for us because it was a real change. So what you're saying to me is we're making money at it.
Yeah, we're doing really well with the student-centered funding formula. We're doing better than a lot of community colleges. Knock on wood that we're there. We were able to get out of hold harmless 3 years early, which is unheard of. We have a good ending fund balance. All of this put it into our bonding rating that we are going for our next tranche. So all of it's good things. We have the new base that they will do after hold harmless is done for the state is 24-25. We are one of the few that are actually increasing enrollment. A lot of other community colleges are decreasing enrollment. Because we're increasing our base floor next year is going to give us a good stable base for moving forward as well.
So delving in, I seem to remember the success section being a lot more problematic for us. I mean, and a bigger chunk of the pie. It seems like it's much smaller than everything else now. Have they reduced the success section?
Not that I'm aware of. They've been really focused on making sure that they're doing the rates and getting the numbers that are actually correct for everybody and getting that kind of aligned. This is what the student-centered funding formula will be moving forward. So if there were any changes in that, it's just as they kind of pieced out those bugs in the beginning.
Okay, so can you also explain this whole thing about an average of 3 years? I did not know about that, and consequently, and you said, is there a recalculation possible?
There's not for the success, and let me go back on my screen so I can give you some correct wording without saying it incorrectly. So on the supplemental and the success, there's no reallocation on that. It's just on the FTES because that's based on this year. The average of 3 years for the success is the 3 prior years. So as we get more enrollment and we have more success, those prior years that had less enrollment will start dropping off and it will just increase for us. We can never spend enough. We have categorical funds for outreach and student retention that we are using to their fullest extent. And then because it got taken back, that was one of the funds that they took funds back from last year, we put that additional funding into our general fund, our unrestricted fund, so that we make sure that we are doing that outreach and making sure that we have that retention for our students, yes.
I'll start by saying, firstly, thank you for the update, but also thank you from top all the way down to people spending the money, being responsible, has increased our bond rating and saving taxpayers, saving us. Like that's phenomenal. It can't be understated how important that's been. I have a question. So all of this makes sense in terms of to me about like how the categories are. What's challenging for me is like how do we track progress with the success, because like we have a different number of students in each category each year, and then like there's a bunch of different rates, like so like yeah, like if I just look at the count of how many associate's degrees, that's not necessarily what I'm looking to go up or down because we have a different number of students in each category each year. Yeah, I was just like, how can we see in some way like
our research and planning department is excellent at that, and Dean Rexford likes to jump into those numbers and give us all that data. So if you'd like, we can ask him to provide that. The Chancellor's office is really good too. They have a calculator that they've taken all of our information for the last 3 years. So that's really easy for me to look at the number when I'm doing budget planning without having to bother Dean Rexford for that information.
Was that the tool that we were being shown that one time? Mm-hmm. It was a little complicated. Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but we can definitely look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could add to that, we also do have institution set standards that are accreditation requirements for us that crosses over many of these same categories like numbers of awards, types of awards, transfers, and things like that. We do monitor that on a yearly basis. And in fact, in an upcoming academic senate meeting, we're going to review our 5-year progress towards those goals. So ultimately, like what VP Wheat was saying, our goal is always to increase the numbers of graduates, the numbers of transfers, our success rate, and things like that. So we do watch it, and again, we'd be happy to share that with you at an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, I would be really interested in like the goals that are set. Like, hey, this year we'd really like to get a higher rate of our 504 students with an associate's degree or something, whatever it is, like those set goals. Because I don't have that in my brain right now, and that would help us maybe as a group to direct like, hey, we want to make sure we're helping meet those goals.
Ironically, as we are finishing up our institutional self-evaluation report for our upcoming accreditation visit, that is one of the things that they ask, and I made a note to myself to do a better job of updating the board on that progress.
Well, you're doing awesome work, so thank you very much for all your work. It's obviously resulting in good results, so I'll be proud.
Go ahead.
VP, thank you. It's not easy to balance a budget that you don't know what your budget is. So that is no small feat. So thank you very much. For the EPA amount, to temper expectations, kind of what's the likelihood of us receiving that in probably a rough, very, very, very rough ballpark if that amount were to come in?
About 6.3 million.
Okay.
6.4 million, somewhere around. I'd have to look at the exact number. It's over 6 million, less than 6.5 million. When I went to my conference at the end of October for chief business officials, they said it's a good likelihood that we'll get it in December. But again, I'm not going to add it to our balance sheet until we actually see it.
All right, thanks.
I have a question piggybacking on what Trustee Collis said, Trustee Quinton had asked, in reference to the students that we have who graduate from here receiving the various degrees and certificates. Do we follow up after a year or 2 years with these students with a survey about how Solano College impacted their lives so that that data can be used and what are they doing in that period of time with job opportunities or what type of job they have based on the background they got from Solano College that made them eligible to apply for the various jobs in their major. Because that would be answering some of the, we had that data answer some of the things that I think Trustee Carla had and so Trustee Quinton asked.
I can start that question, and then VP Neely oversees the research office, so she might want to fill in. But we have a couple of ways that we track that. One is the CTEOS. It's the CTE outcome survey that's sent out by the Chancellor's office 18 months after students in CTE programs graduate, and it follows up with them and asks them where they're employed and asks their wages, and that's how we track employment for our CTE graduates. We also have data that we get that's called the IPEDS data. That helps us with transfers. It tells us how many of our students transferred. It doesn't tell us what they're majoring in or whether they get a job. But again, that is it's hard to follow up with people after they leave. But there are a couple of sources where we do get some information on that.
The gremlin got in yours.
Okay. Hello. I was going to just add to that. I think also we've had some very active conversations about how to do a better job of tracking that. Certainly within certain programs, I know faculty and working with the deans and divisions do a lot of that, almost anecdotally, but it's actually become a more formal way to kind of find out from students, as you said, what are their destinations, where are they ending up in terms of industry, employment. For example, our ATEC program, our automotive technology program, does an excellent job of tracking graduates and really get a sense of who's working in the industry. We've also started talking with our Career Center services about a little bit more of an intentional alumni tracking process, which could include some of our own internal surveys to do just that. So we are having that active conversation.
Okay, thank you.
One more question, go ahead.
Can we go to the incarcerated credit? You mentioned that our enrollment success is in some measure due to our success there. It is a I'd love to know a bit more about it. I know that this perhaps is not the right time, but fast forward if you can include that in a study session. But what I'm intrigued at immediately now is what are our numbers in terms of the incarcerated? How do we measure that success? And because when I went to the graduation, there were other colleges involved there as well. So I'm trying to figure out where we are on the pecking order, so to speak.
Yeah, so I can tell you for our counts that we have, it shows about 281. Again, that's based on prior year average. That's going to then be recalculated. That's what they have right now. We were about 300. We're about 700.
That 280 was FTES.
Yeah.
So in terms of actual students, when I got here in 2017, we had about 300 students in our what at the time we called corrections education program. Right now we have around 800 with 1,200 enrollments just this semester alone. So it has increased significantly. And on top of that, we finally have students starting to earn awards. In the past, when we were only an in-person teaching only, we were limited in the number of classes that we could teach, and that's why the corrections facilities have other colleges that do correspondence that fill in that gap. Since we were able to add correspondence during the pandemic, that allowed us to offer more classes and offer more degrees. And to Trustee Cargo-Reed's comment earlier, that is one of the areas where we truly are transforming students' lives. And those of you were at the graduation, so I think you saw it firsthand.
By comparison to the other colleges' success, how do we fit? I mean, I don't want to be mean, but it'd be nice if we did better.
Every correctional facility in the state is attached to a community college. Not all community colleges teach in person at the corrections facilities, but every prison does have a college that teaches at. Some of them are much larger. Over in Saracoso and Tehachapi and areas of the state that have much larger incarcerated populations, we'll have many more students and many more opportunities. We serve 3 prisons here in our county, so we're limited to those facilities as well. And we're limited to some degree on the amount of space that they have, and then the limitations that the institutions themselves put on enrollments. But they are asking for more. We are attempting to grow that program, and I think we will have capacity to continue to grow for a while.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Thanks to Vice President Wheat for the original presentation and for everyone's comments and questions. Thank you. So at this time, we're moving on to announcements. Are there any announcements?
I have one announcement. I just wanted to mention to the board that Solano Board of Education, I think that's the name, is having their January event here at the college, and everyone's invited. Just, if you can, hold the date of January 22nd. And I'll give you more information going forward. Okay, so
Right.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? If not, we'll move on to items from the board. Are there any items from the board? Apparently there are not. So we'll move on to adjournment, and I'll call upon A. Marie Young to make a motion in this regard.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so the meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Very good.